don't forget the money, man.
What's up? What's good? Matt Clark here at the new Matt Clark. How are each and every one of you doing on this amazing Sunday? I'm doing great. My girl's doing great. My family's doing great. I hope each and every one of you are doing great through these crazy and chaotic times. If you could please hit that like button, that subscribe button, and that bell notification button so you get all these videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that would be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you'd like to donate, help, and support the channel. So today, I got my friend Brett Beyer, Big B. He's a new Canadian prison genre channel, and I 100% support the movement. I'm happy to see that somebody else from Canada is getting out there and trying to use their voice to help people who don't really get that help. And most people in society just kind of ignore. Stigma kind of creates a bad tension between civilians and even ex-cons, and it can just be difficult and feel like nobody really understands what you're going through. So these voices are important. So, bro, obviously, I'm happy to have you on. You
Thank
say, yeah, man, it's cool, man. I support it always, man.
You just hit it right on the dot, bro. They want to conquer and divide the people, and isn't that absolutely abundant right now? Especially right now, the Hegelian dialectic, they're playing it perfectly, bro. Problem, reaction, solution, and it's playing out everywhere. Anyways,
I
don't get me started with that.
Yeah, with all the stuff that's going on right now, bro, I don't even pay no attention to it because it's all bogus, right?
Right.
But
exactly.
I do want to ask you, so, obviously by getting into this genre, you have a history in it. So if you could just give us a brief, rundown of your history and how you got into maybe addiction, the criminal lifestyle, whatever it is that you went through, and just give us a Go ahead.
Sorry, we're just lagging a little bit. That's all. My bad. So I just have to give you an extra minute to finish. That's all. So I'm not gonna be like a prison channel so much, but I'm gonna be everything. I've been to prison, jail, rehabs, addiction very badly from age 18 to still now. I'm still on Suboxone. I'm still trying to transition off right now, but I had major back surgery and shit. So that was, but sometimes before we wish things and then when they happen, we're like, yo, wow, you know what I mean? What did I manifest, right? Like when I was coming off oxys one time, I was like, bro, I just need chronic pain and I'm good. Sure enough, 6 months later, there goes my back, and I'm like, yo, God, I wish this didn't happen. And you saw how fucked up life is. Anyways, I'll just start by saying that I grew up rich. I won't say rich, but let's say grateful and in a good family. I come from two very good parents, and they were very, very good to me. They got me the extra time I needed in class and shit like that. And they, essentially they pushed me through high school and college. And along the way, I started getting picked on because in Saga City, where I'm from, Mississauga, right? Shout out to the 905. But even when I started there, it was still the
905.
Right? But when I started there, when I was just young, I don't know how old you are, but I'm in my late 30s, bro. Like straight out, it was the 416 in Mississauga way back in the day. So it's like, that's what I represent. So we moved into a neighborhood that was literally surrounded by kind of, the projects. We had certain types of projects and shit like that. So in grade 9, I was getting picked on and shit like that in Ting, right? So we had to learn to fend for ourselves. You know how people are like, yo, dog, you got some spare change, dog? You know what I mean? They're slapping your pockets and shit. It's like, yo, what the fuck? So essentially I started becoming friends with, with the cooler people and shit. And I started fighting the older people because I took mixed martial arts and shit. And I'm not very good at it and shit. I have a few friends that were in the UFC and shit. Later in life when I was in London, we started training. But
Hominic.
Sorry, go ahead.
Mark Hominick.
Yeah, bro, and Sam Stout, you know. I
Yeah,
didn't want to name names, but you got it right there, bro. You know, my two boys. Anyways, so, but that was later in life. So I had to start out in grade 9 by getting picked on and things like that, you know. And then I quit school for a year when I was like 17, and I got a job and I got a car, and I started hanging out at coffee time with this car, you know, and all the crew, like the Tim Hortons crew, right? I had a lowered car. It was an Integra GSR, you know. Thought I was so cool, but beside the coffee time was this little Italian restaurant. You know what I mean? And I started chilling with some of the dudes that ran it and shit. And then it was just from there, I was like a 17-year-old going on like 34-year-old, you know, people that own nightclubs and tow companies and restaurants and shit. And, you know, so I got into the life that way. You know, thank God it never landed me in prison for a long time. I always had like conditional discharges. Like I had grow ops and shit like that, allegedly, back in the day. And I got off on conditional discharges on that, thank God. So I didn't have to do any long bits. But that's essentially how I got into the life. You know, hanging out at a coffee shop in my little lowered car, and I met, you know, big man's next door. But I always had a way of connecting with people differently. You know, I like to go my own route. I don't like to follow everybody else, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. I definitely, growing up, was considered a nomad. You know, like even though I had a lot of friends, I felt more comfortable being alone. Like even though it was more or less people wanted to be around me than me wanting to be around people.
Right.
And that was just because I was living crazy for my neighborhood. Like I'm from York region, you know how it is.
Yeah.
They weren't ready for me. Like me and my crew tore through York region. They weren't ready for us. And it gave me some status in high school, you know, and I remember just everybody wanting to be my friend. And even though I didn't really care for people and still don't particularly care for people, but I love good people. I
Right.
just feel like the world is starting to lack those. So let me ask you this. You're getting into the YouTube scene, and your goal would be to help people. Now, you said you have a lot of crazy stories. You said you know, from addiction to jail to whatever. So why don't you tell us something about yourself that's crazy story material?
Okay. I don't know. I went to jail one time in Cuba. I got in a fight with my parents on Christmas Eve. I was like 19 at the time, 18 at the time. And I said, yo, fuck this, I'm out. So I headed to the Toronto Pearson Airport and I flew to Cuba. You know, and like you said, people, you know, I just have a way of meeting certain people, always older than me and shit like that. So in Cuba, there I am drinking in some beach party, you know, alone on Christmas Day. This was, you know, the day after I got there. And a local comes up to me and he's like, yo, do you want to go party? You know, he's like, you know, in Spanish, I know a little bit of Spanish and shit. He was just like, yo, I'll take you to my, you know, my family's house and we'll go and kick it there. So I literally went on horseback and fucking went like, you know, 2 hours, 3 hours out of like Veradero into some like normal, you know, like just small town in Cuba. And it was mad cool. I chilled there for almost a week. And when I got back, there was a search and rescue because they thought I was dead. That, you know, because I went to like one of those all inclusives. And while I was there,
Yeah.
you know, but while I was there, I got hammered again. You know what I mean? Once I got back, I got so smashed. Me and a guy that I had met, we went to the bar. And you know how you can rent scooters and shit? I don't know if you've been to all inclusive.
Never been there.
You can
No.
rent scooters and shit. So I left the bar hammered, bro, just drunk. And I crashed the scooter. You know, the cops came, they took me away, they took me into the holding cell. And of course, I was so drunk, liquid courage, screaming at them, bouncing on the bars, you know, like, yo, I'm going to get the fucking embassy involved, bro. I'm going to call Trudeau myself, like whoever the premier was, like back then, just crazy. They couldn't handle me, so they just left me out and they said, okay, if you stay on your resort and you swear to fly home, you know, we'll let you out. So I was like, yo, bet. So I was done. But that, you know, that's just one of the funny stories. Obviously, I'm not going to go into too much detail because we don't have so much time today, but that was crazy. but hanging out with the locals and shit was really, really cool. You know, eating their food, seeing their culture. You know, I paid for that hotel, but and I slept on this like dirt bed and just this little cabin. But like that's how you gain experience. You know, everybody gains experience their own different way and shit. But like from my little structured life to going to Cuba in the middle of the ghetto, and you know, it was cool, man. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I definitely would love to travel to somewhere in my lifetime that's not first world. I want to see what it's like in other places so I can understand how good I have it, because I hear that you really learn to appreciate what you have here in Canada if you travel to a lot of places in the world. And I'll tell you a story. Actually, my buddy went backpacking through Southern Asia, so like Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, all those countries. And he told me when he was backpacking through Cambodia and Laos, they would have children panhandlers, and they'd basically have like panhandling pimps. So there's like older guys controlling these groups of kids that come out and they beg you for money, but they don't get any of that money. So, you know, one of the main rules is don't give them any money. If anything, buy them some food. But he was telling me a story about a kid he saw that was holding a dead baby and begging for money, holding a body of a dead baby. And just the idea of that to me, I can't grasp it.
Yeah.
You know, we have crazy crap here, like, you know, mass shootings and crazy serial killers and stuff, which you don't, you know, really get in a lot of places. But to just think about that, to me, you know, how horrible their existence must be as kids to have to experience that. And you know, I know, you know, here in this country, it doesn't get that bad, but you know, for a lot of people, it may seem that bad. And that's one of the reasons why I do my channel, is because I feel like if I could reach a lot of these young people who need to be reached, like me, myself, I was abused sexually as a child, like as a young child. And I experienced trauma. I lost my brother to 2 counts of first-degree murder when I was 12 years old. You know, so I needed somebody to relate to and talk to and kind of show me the ropes, because my family didn't understand. Like, they were learning with me, so they weren't able to kind of coach us through it because they were learning themselves. And if I would have had somebody like me that could have, or you that could have explained the, you know, how life really works, I feel like I would have handled it a little better. So let me ask you, you said you've been in addiction for a long, long time. What was your DOC, and how exactly bad did it get? And, you know, if you want to kind of explain your history of drug use to us, that would be great.
Yeah, like, you know, when I started hanging out with those older boys, like I said, next to the coffee time or whatever, you know, I started drinking wine and we started going out, and you know, I started getting into the game, and you know the rule, never get high on your own supply. So my buddy
Yeah.
would just go, you know, here, try one out and shit like that. So I got heavy into, you know, these things for a while, you know, and like I went to the Bahamas and shit, and I was doing it, and just like, but for a long time, it was just like a weekend thing. I was a weekend warrior. I'd go hard on the weekend and drink a lot, a lot, a lot. And then it got to the point where I was drinking so much and going out every single night that I couldn't function during the day. And I started getting massive anxiety attacks, and I didn't know why, but I wasn't drinking water. I wasn't taking care of myself. And so straight up, so I went to my girlfriend's dad, who was a doctor, and I was really close with him. And literally, he was like, well, here. And he started feeding me benzos. And, you know, I think I hurt my foot 2 weeks later. And he was like, here. And he wrote me Percocets. And the man was he's a narcissist. He actually lost his license after overprescribing somebody and killing them. But so that's how it happened. I had one of my girlfriend's dads. I know that sounds, you know, like, for any girls watching, I wasn't always the best of guys. You know, I had a few girlfriends back in the day, and I'm sorry for them for that. But one of their dads was the doctor, and he just kept writing me shit, man. And it just got progressively worse and worse and worse. You know, and then when the pills stop working, when you can only take so many 80s a day and they're not even working anymore, what do? You know,
You go to the junk.
you go to the next best thing, man. You know, and then
Yeah.
and then I was looked at as different by my friends as soon as I started using. You know what I mean? All my boys who were in the game were like, "Yo, this guy's a fucking junkie, bro. What the fuck, man?" And they all kind of left me, and I would have left myself too. But that drug, yo, you hit it on the point yesterday, bro. And salute to that video. I saw it and I was like, oh my, you know, and that's why essentially I've started my channel. Whether it's addiction, the few times I've been in prison or jail, because you know, it's both here, right? It's you go to Maplehurst whether you're waiting on the weekend or whether you've been charged with first-degree murder, as you know. You know, a lot
Same
of my
thing.
boys, right. Like, I don't know if you ever went to 600 Jarvis as a youth, but like, yo, that place, like, you know, I hear like people like 1090 Jake and shit like that talking about Florida jails and like gladiator schools. 600 Jarvis was a fucking gladiator school to us, bro. You know, I never
Well,
went. Sorry, go ahead.
Tyak was, I guarantee, as serious as any jit camp.
Yeah.
You know, Tyak was young, gooned out 16 and 17-year-old kids that were built like brick shit houses, armed with shanks, and literally ready for war in a jail setup of bar. So it's jail. It's not a luxury camp with sports. We were locked down most of the time, 16 to 21 hours a day. We'd be lucky if we got out morning, afternoon, and night. Most likely we'd get out morning, be locked down for the afternoon, and get out at night, because there were so many fights in young offender that they had to split ranges in half, because by dividing everybody who was fighting, they just didn't have enough places for everybody. So literally every range was cut in half.
Yeah.
Young offender is crazy, man. But you
Yeah,
were
like,
talking about.
so
Go ahead.
yeah, no, the young offender prison you're talking about, like three of my really good friends, like one of my almost best friends, I would say. I don't use the word friends very often. I have a lot of acquaintances, like you had said, a lot of people, you know. And I wanted just to touch on this one thing as well, because I thought about it while you were talking. You had said you were kind of like a nomad. Same with me, bro. I hung out with everybody. I had one uncle in, you know, the Sons of Anarchy, let's say, and I had another uncle in the opposing. And they always told me, bro, why pick a side? Why not with everybody? You know, why not mess with everybody and, you know, and be the man? And second of all, a patch or a color doesn't make you. You make that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a man makes money. Money doesn't define a man. You know, if that makes
Well,
sense.
it's like guys who say because a guy is from a certain neighborhood, he's a gangster.
Right.
Uh, or because a guy's from another neighborhood, he's not a gangster. It plays no part. Okay, maybe if you're from the suburbs or you're from an upper middle class neighborhood, the chances of you getting involved in violence and stuff are less, for sure.
Right.
But the craziest person I ever met in my life, the most stone cold murderer I ever met in my life, was rich, wealthy. Came up in a rich home and will kill you dead at the drop of a frickin' disrespect. And that was just the way he is. He's in prison on multiple murder charges now. And we know that cold case looks at him for all kinds of different bodies, because he's just a crazy person. And it has nothing to do with where he came from. It's just who he was.
Yeah, man. Yeah, all my boys in the ghetto, you know, in the projects and shit, they always said, "Yo, beware that one white guy, you know, that's in the crew of all the mandem, you know, because he's obviously there for a reason, you know." We'll just leave it at that, right? But yo, like, yeah, no, I was just gonna touch on, like, you know, 600 Jarvis, because one of my really good friends was killed, and it's just like, you know, I miss him, bro. You know, R.I.P. and shout out to him, man. You know. His name was Norm Swire.
Well, if he's dead, that's okay. You can mention his name.
That's why I did, exactly.
Well, R.I.P. Norm Swire. You
Yeah.
know, it's a shame when anybody dies, and if they're not a chomo or or a rapist or whatever, it's a shame in prison if somebody loses their life, whether they're smuggling in packages, whether they get killed, whether they get killed by the guards, whether they commit suicide, which I've seen all of. I've
Yeah.
seen them all. And I just appreciate the fact that I made it out of that. And and I'm standing here now able to share my stories.
It sounds like you had a crazy, crazy life in there, bro. Crazy, man. And it makes my stories look stupid. And that's the whole thing. I didn't want to make my shit on prison because I can't lie and say that I'm like crazy about that chain gang when I'm not. I was about that life on the outside allegedly, but that's on the outside, you know. So I have no idea what that shit is like. The only time I ever saw crazy violence, because I always knew some people on the inside, or they knew, some of my friends, and our name rang bells, right? Like you said. So it was in the EDMC in London, Ontario, and we were all on lockdown, and we had some hooch and shit, and a native dude and just like this little scrawny white boy got into a fight behind the cell, and like we heard it all, man, and just how it is, man. Hearing somebody take their last breath and just begging, and the guards just looking away, like everyone thinks Canada's soft. Like you said, man, going to Millhaven J Unit, or I heard that's gone, or
It's not that Canada's soft. It's that Canada's population is small. In prison, there's like 20,000 inmates in the country.
right.
You know what I mean? The States is 2 million.
Right.
So our maximum security has serious killers in it, but there's like 200 guys.
Right.
But if you go to a maximum security in California, there's like 4,000 or 5,000 guys, 1,300 guys going to yard together. So obviously it's going to be more dangerous.
And
it's nothing about the seriousness of the man, though.
Right. And I'm a perfect example of that. Here in Canada, let's say it's maybe harder to get caught. I don't know if you're doing something allegedly, or maybe for smaller things it's easier to get off, or but what I do know is that the prison industrial complex in the United States corporation is for profit. Here I'm not really sure on that. I haven't done a lot of research on it. So in the States it's crazy.
I mean, it's all business.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It's all business, right? Because whether it's private prisons in the States where they're actually making money off of the per inmate from the government, or it's federally ran where they're collecting money from tax revenue. And either way, it costs, in Canada, Ontario, it costs $100,000 Canadian to house one inmate for 1 year. And that's coming out of tax money. And I'll say Canada's fairly liberal.
Right.
So, you tend to get a lot of chances. You'll tend to get out within a reasonable time, considering crimes. It's pretty difficult for the government to say you're not getting out. You'll have a lot of opportunities in this country. Now there are a lot of things that need to change. There a lot more attention needs to be put into the opioid pandemic, which is a real pandemic, and it's been killing. There's been hundreds of thousands of people dying from it for years, and nobody cares. And we know the reality is that these big pharma companies and big medication companies promoted all these medications, a decade or two ago, telling everybody that they weren't addicting. And, you said yourself, you're somebody who never really got into much trouble, but you got into pills, you got into this, and it spiraled your life kind of out of control. And
right.
if you look around, it's mothers, teachers, principals, lawyers, doctors. I knew a guy that got arrested. So this guy was arrested with his pharmacist. So this guy had maybe the sickest lick ever. The amount of money this guy must have been making. So he had a pharmacist that would give him unlimited fentanyl patches for $100 each. And he was from up north, so he could sell those fentanyl patches for $400 plus.
4 and 5.
So he's buying 3, 4, 500 of these fentanyl patches a week. This pharmacist is giving him. And, just how quickly this epidemic rose through and just kind of took over. And, you know, because of coronavirus and all this stuff, I feel like it's being overlooked right now. But
Well,
you've seen how serious the life gets. So tell everybody, tell my viewers how serious and how dark that life can get.
well, I'll just say this. It's weird that you brought this up because they promoted it when it came out. I was told, okay, I was told that for my depression and my anxiety that OxyContin would be the solution. Who puts somebody on opiates for mental pain, knowing that they're going to put them out? So my doctor at the time, like I had said, was the actual spokesperson for OxyContin, and he told everybody, as long as you don't take it within 12 hours, as long as you space it out every 12 hours, it's not addictive. I was getting 15 80s a day when I went to rehab at the end. 2 Red Rocket, 2 100 milligram morphines, and 2 fentanyl patches every day. To the
And
point,
it's like, if you say it's not addicting, why is he giving you that much?
right. That was later on. But this is the same doctor that took me out west skiing, all this shit. Then he would have me to his house and we would have parties. And like, this is a 60-year-old dude. And I was like 20 years old. So this stuff is serious. I didn't believe
Yeah, he
I
makes
could.
money off all that.
Right. I've never been addicted to cigarettes. I mean, I'm having one right now just because we're chopping it up, chilling and shit. But like, I've never been addicted to anything. Alcohol, I thought I was immune from this, bro. I took one pill, it was over. I stopped going out overnight. That was it. My girlfriend at the time, she was beautiful. You know, you lose your sex drive, you lose your drive to do everything, bro. So I lost my hustle, I lost everything. I depended on my parents and my family. It was horrible. It's horrible. My friends and shit. And I went to like a waste man in no time. You know, I went from being a boss to a waste man within no time. So it's absolutely serious, bro. And they're not taking this for real. I mean, they finally starting to a few doctors, but like I'll just quickly tell you, my pain doctor, his son from Mississauga died. So there's how real it is. An addiction doctor's own son died. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
From an overdose.
my pharmacist from treatment, his son died, and that's why he became a pharmacist. And he opened up like a bunch of sober living houses. He's like an amazing person, you know. Anyways, I don't want to talk any longer because I'd like to have you on again later in the future. Obviously, we share our stories with you guys, so you guys don't have to go through these things. You know, the video is a little different. Obviously, most of the time I have on guys that have done 17, 18, 15 years time, but I really enjoyed this interview. I feel like it's good to just have conversations, you know,
Yeah.
with people who've been through it and who have seen it, and it's the best way to open people's eyes. So I appreciate you coming on. If you guys could please hit that like button, that subscribe button, and that bell notification button so you get all these videos when they're new. If you could share with somebody on social media, help spread the message, help spread the word, that would be amazing. And there's a PayPal option if you would like to donate, help support the channel. The link is in the description. So, bro, if you want to, just give a shout out of your channel or your Instagram, whatever you want to shout out. Hopefully, some of my subscribers will come and subscribe to your stuff, follow you on Instagram. Let's get this Canadian movement going. The more voices in the positive direction, the better.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Salute for having me on, bro. My Instagram is BigBB416. And my channel is the same. I just changed it from Baby Boys because it was too long. So it's BigBB416. I only have one episode, one story on there so far, but you know, I'm just getting the swing of things. I have ADHD like mad, so if I went off rambling a bit too much today, I'm sorry. I'll be more gathered next time. But you know,
That's okay, man.
There's so much up here. There's so much going on and so much stuff I want to tell the youth, and you know, so I look forward to next time, bro. Thank you for having me on. Respect.
Okay, man. I appreciate you.